Stocks swing between losses and gains on mixed global cues and rapid evolving geopolitical situation. Metals and industrials gain, while utilities and IT drag. Mid-caps were better. Eicher Motor revs up growth with strong sales and market share gains, even as it comprises on a little in terms of margins. While some analysts fret over valuations, others bet on gains from premiumization. Muthoot Finance slides despite a strong performance as concerns over the impact of draft RBI norms on gold loans and volatility in gold prices weigh on the stock. The management hints at a growth well above its guidance. Gold slides sharply to below $3,150 per ounce as trade tensions ebb and US expands ties with Middle East, also lifting sanctions on Syria. A weak inflation print also aids the fall. Silver too slips. Hello, good afternoon. You've tuned into Business Lunch, coming live from the CNBC-TV18 Motilal Oswal studios. I'm Vinny Motiwala, and thank you so much for tuning in as always. In terms of the market, obviously we have the expiry today. We're seeing a bit of a volatility coming in, and that is why we're seeing the market swing between the red and the green, just flip-flopping on that side as well. As of now, Nifty 24,700, about that mark is what the Nifty is managing to hold on to. 0.2% is what gain we're seeing coming in for the Nifty. Nifty Bank, a recovery is coming for the Nifty Bank as well, right? From the day's lowest point, we're seeing overall a recovery coming in for the market. Nifty Bank, 54,799, 54,800, around that mark. Mid and small cap, the outperformance is continuing on at that front. Yes, off the day's highest point is what the mid cap is trading at. But yesterday also we had seen the outperformance for the mid and small cap. Today also is what we're seeing in terms of an outperformance that is coming in for the mid and small cap. Now let's pull up the IT and the pharma pack today. That's under pressure today. Both these company sectors are down and out in trade. Though recovery coming in for the Nifty IT. As of now, from the day's lowest point, we're seeing a good amount of recovery, down 0.1%. Pharma, 0.3% of decline is what we're seeing. Earning gainers, a lot of them in terms of stocks are moving on the back of earnings. So we have Apar Industries, Concall highlights of very strong, very positive highlight, and that is why the stock is buzzing in trade today. Kirloskar Oil Engines also buzzing on the back of earnings. Eclux also among the gainers on a good set of numbers coming in Q4 FY25. On the flip side, we have Muthoot Finance, Hitachi Energy, Sagility, Piramal Pharma. All these names are down and out because of a weak set of numbers that was reported by the company. So yes, that's how the roundup is looking like in terms of the market. But let's get started with the big story for today, and a big statement coming from US President Donald Trump, who has told Apple CEO Tim Cook that he didn't want him to build in India. Listen in to what he had to say.
We have Apple, as you know, it's coming in. And I had a little problem with Tim Cook yesterday. I said to him, Tim, you're my friend. I treated you very good. You're coming in with $500 billion, but now I hear you're building all over India. I don't want you building in India. You can build in India if you want to take care of India, because India is the highest, one of the highest tariff nations in the world. It's very hard to sell into India. And they've offered us a deal where basically they're willing to literally charge us no tariff. So we go from the highest tariff, you couldn't do business in India. We're not even a top 30 in India because the tariff is so high, to a point where they have actually told us, I assume you too, Scott, you were working on that also, that there will be no tariff, right? Would you say that's a difference? They're the highest, and now they're saying no tariff. But I said to Tim, look, we've treated you really good. We put up with all the plants that you built in China for years. Now you got to build us. We're not interested in you building in India. India can take care of themselves. They're doing very well.
And moving on, as we discuss the market, let's focus on views of the country's market outlook. India right now is the most exciting place to be in. These are not my words, but coming in from the emerging market veteran, Mark Mobius. Listen in to some excerpts from his conversation and interview with CNBC.
China is not the only game in town. We're now seeing all these other countries entering the export market and being able to compete. So it's really very exciting to see what's happening around the world. And probably the most exciting place now is India, because India is going to be taking the place of China in many, many areas. And we've already seen companies like Apple and others come to India to manufacture and export. So India, Vietnam, Taiwan, Turkey, those are the ones that are looking very interesting for us at this stage. But as you pointed out, there are many other markets around the world that are doing better than the US. The big problem with India is bureaucracy. As you know, they inherited this incredible bureaucracy from the British, and the party that took over, the Congress Party took over, perpetuated that bureaucracy. But Modi, the new prime minister, has done a tremendous job in cutting through a lot of the bureaucracy, but still there's a lot to be done. And he's digitizing the entire economy. First of all, by getting digitized identity cards for everybody, so money can be transferred directly to bank accounts, even to the poorest people in the country. But this takes time. I call it the United States of India because you have all these states, many of them with different languages, both written and spoken languages. So to unify this country is quite a job, but still the opportunities are there because you have a lot of very smart people. And as you say, it's the most populous country in the world now. We figure about 1.2 billion people compared to, I would say, now India's bigger than China. China maybe 800 to 900 million.
And let's move on now and get more stock specific, right? We had Eicher Motors that reported their numbers. It was a largely inline set of numbers that came in Q4 FY25. But what is the key highlights coming in from this, the fine print for this? We have Sudarshan joining in with us to take us through all of that. Afternoon, Sudarshan. As of now, the stock is down 0.2%. What were the numbers like? If it's in line, why the stock is down?
The stock is trading with minor cuts, and if you talk about the performance has been playing as per its playbook, company's playbook. Company has been saying that its focus is on growth over margin. Also in Q4, if you would have seen that both profit and revenue have seen a healthy growth. Also for the upper side of the segment in two-wheeler, premiumization trend has continued, and for that, Eicher Motors is the biggest beneficiary. Also, heightened competition that we had seen last year is behind, and company continues to gain market share. As far as earnings are concerned, profit was up 27%, revenue has increased 23%, and both were higher than expectations. But margin has come below expectations for third straight quarter. Also, if you talk about the valuations, it's one of the companies in two-wheeler space for which valuations are very rich. And EBITDA has slipped 11%, margin was down 250 basis points. But if you talk about the market share in the segment, up more than 250 cc, it has gained market share of 100 basis points sequentially, and it has gained 40 basis points if you compare YOY. What about the outlook? Company is saying that it will outperform the industry and will continue to see a healthy growth. Also, one positive thing that company has talked about, that while the rural growth has been healthy, for urban area, it's saying that positive sentiment has been returning.
Okay, Sudarshan, thank you so much for that and giving us those highlights, what came in from the con call as well. But let's move on to the next stock for today. We have Tata Power that's in focus on the back of its earnings as well. They posted a good Q4 number this time. Healthy improvement in terms of margins, increase in profitability. And earlier today, we spoke to Praveer Sinha, Managing Director and the CEO at Tata Power. Listen into his comments coming in on the quarter gone by.
We had planned a capex of 20,000 in FY25. We could complete nearly 16,200 crores during the year. Some of our projects got delayed, especially because the evacuation lines for renewable projects, they got a little deferred, which of course will happen in the Q1 of FY26. Similarly, some of the projects of our transmission lines, which we are executing, there were issues about right-of-way, which now have been sorted out and will get completed in this quarter and next quarter. So I think it's just a question of timing, and we are very much on track to complete all these projects. So Odisha has been a great experiment for us, and the type of service improvement, whether it is in terms of reliability, customer service, all that has improved tremendously. And many of the legacy issues which were there in terms of billing, collection, we have been able to sort that out. On UP, I think the government over there is very keen to pursue this opportunity of privatization, and the PPP model, as has been done in Odisha on similar lines, we expect the bidding process to happen. From what I understand, they have already appointed a consultant and the bid documents are expected in this month end. And possibly in this calendar year itself, the bid will get finalized.
And now shifting focus to Lupin, because that also reported its numbers, a steady set of numbers that came in from this company. We spoke to the management on expectation from the US business in the coming quarters and the impact of President Trump's executive order. Listen to what their view was.
For us, given the price erosion on the older products, but continued ramp up of products like Spiriva and others, we also have Rivaroxaban as well as Predfort that continue to be strong contributors in terms of new product launches, apart from our existing portfolio. And with Tolvaptan now in the market, as well as injectables launching second half of the year, we believe that $250 million per quarter should be the new base. No, I think it's very early to really interpret the impact of the recent order on the brand products, the MFN plus that the order entailed. I mean, it's the pharma is still trying to interpret it and believes that there is it's not clear what the implications will be. For us, of course, the pricing of brand drugs impacts the pricing of generics overall. So we watch it very carefully. We are looking out for, what will likely come down the road on tariffs, which can have a material impact, and have, provided our comments as part of the Commerce Department 232 investigations.
Okay, on that note, we're going to slip into a very short break. And after the break, when we return, we'll get you more updates on Operation Sindoor and India-Pakistan tensions. Welcome back to Business Lunch on CNBC-TV18. A quick look at what the market is doing, because we've seen a bit of a spike up coming in the last 10 minutes. Since we started the show to now, we're seeing a spike up. Look at it. As of now, Nifty is trading at the day's highest point, 24,867. So almost a more than 100-point jump up that we've seen in the last 15 minutes. 0.8% of gain is what we're seeing coming in for the Nifty 50. So keep an eye out on that in terms of the market and where it's going to be headed in the second half of the trading session. But the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh arrived in Jammu and Kashmir's Srinagar today and this morning in a first visit to the valley after India's Operation Sindoor. He was accompanied by Jammu and Kashmir's Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha, and during the visit, Defence Minister reviewed the overall security scenario and the combat readiness of the Indian Armed Forces and inspected Pakistani shells that were dropped in the border areas. Calling Operation Sindoor a big commitment, the Defence Minister said that this was the biggest operation against terror. He also added that Pakistan's nuclear arsenals should be kept under IAEA monitoring. Listen in to what Modi had to say.
आज आतंकवाद के खिलाफ भारत की प्रतिज्ञा कितनी कठोर है, इसका पता इसी बात से चलता है कि हमने उनके न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल की भी परवाह नहीं की है। पूरी दुनिया ने देखा है कि कैसे गैर जिम्मेदाराना तरीके से पाकिस्तान द्वारा भारत को अनेक बार एटमी धमकियां दी गई हैं। आज श्रीनगर की धरती से मैं पूरी दुनिया के सामने यह सवाल उठाना चाहता हूं कि क्या ऐसे गैर जिम्मेदार और रोग नेशन के हाथों में परमाणु हथियार सुरक्षित हैं? मैं दुनिया के सामने यह सवाल खड़ा करना चाहता हूं। मैं मानता हूं कि पाकिस्तान के एटमी हथियारों को IAEA इंटरनेशनल एटॉमिक एनर्जी एजेंसी की निगरानी में लिया जाना चाहिए। मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा और साफ तौर पर कहना चाहूंगा।
Okay, and a quick look at what Vodafone Idea is doing. That is in focus as company has filed a fresh plea at the Supreme Court seeking 30,000 crores for waiver. The company is seeking a relief on AGR dues. The company says that the government is handicapped in granting relief due to the AGR judgment that was there, and government is now a partner with 49% stake that has converted into AGR spectrum dues into equity. So company is seeking urgent hearing on May 19th. That is what we'll be watching out for. Vodafone Idea is up 3% right now. Keep an eye out on it. The company is seeking waiver of over 30,000 crores on account of penalties as well as interest. But let's move on then. And the government has now confirmed that Indian Air Forces bypassed the jammed Pakistan's air defense system during Operation Sindoor. The centre also said that all strikes were executed without any loss of Indian asset. Parikshit, take us through how India thwarted Pakistan's attempt to attack us. Take us through all of that.
This is extremely important. This goes to show the amount of planning that had gone into the technological warfare that India was about to indulge in to eliminate those terror caps in Pakistan as part of Operation Sindoor. So all of this happened on 6th night and 7th morning, and sources tell us that meticulous planning was done to bypass and jam Pakistan's Chinese-supplied air defense systems, and India was successful in doing so. The entire mission was completed in 23 minutes, and this shows the strength of Indian technology, Indian defense shields, and indigenous manufacturing as well. Post-Operation Sindoor, we have seized, and this is evidence in the hands of Indian forces, Chinese PL-15 missiles, which are used against India, Turkish Yaya drones. These are armed drones, which are also used against the Indian forces and Indian civilian areas. India's loitering munitions, we're told, carried out offensive strikes on Pakistan's Noor Khan and Rahim Yar airbase. All strikes were executed without loss of Indian assets. Now, this is important because it has been said that there was significant damage caused to Indian air bases. None of that has happened. The government again and again saying that we did not lose our assets in this entire operation, be it our air defense systems, be it our air bases. So none of that has been damaged. Indian forces were able to complete the mission successfully. We were able to carry out extensive attacks on Pakistani air bases on the 9th and 10th. At the same time, there was 10 satellites working round the clock to ensure safety and security of citizens and also support our armed forces.
Thank you so much for that. Meanwhile, the products from Turkey have been caught in the crosshairs of India-Pakistan tensions. Boycott Turkey is trending on Indian social media. Last evening, the traders industry body CAIT said that it would push for the suspension of trade with both nations at the National Conference on the 16th of May. Shivani Vazaz is joining in with us and here to tell us more in terms of what triggered the backlash as well as the stakes that are involved here.
Well, yes, a growing online movement is gaining serious traction. Boycott Turkey is trending across Indian social media, with users calling for a complete economic and tourism boycott of Turkish products and services. But what triggered this sharp backlash? It began with a wave of anger on social media after Turkey publicly condemned India's military strikes on terror camps in Pakistan and POK. On May 7th, the Turkish foreign minister issued a strong statement warning that India's action raises the risk of an all-out war. But the backlash escalated further when forensic analysis of drones shot down by Indian forces revealed a disturbing detail. The drones were of Turkish origin, allegedly used in attacks launched from Pakistani territory. Soon after, Indian users began circulating lists of Turkish brands from appliances and food to fashion and travel, urging fellow consumers to stop supporting Turkish-linked businesses. Posts that read, "India helped Turkey in its darkest hour, Turkey helped Pakistan in ours," quickly went viral. The anger wasn't limited to social media. The travel industry took swift action. Ease My Trip issued an advisory urging tourists to avoid non-essential travel to Turkey. Cox & King and Ixigo followed by suspending new bookings to the country, citing rising geopolitical tensions. Now let's take a look at the stakes involved. Bilateral trade between India and Pakistan stood at $13.8 billion in 2022-23 and $10.43 billion last year, with Indian exports leading the numbers. Turkey also has received over $227 million in FDI from India till March 2024, and Indian companies have invested nearly $200 million there. But the biggest hit could come from tourism. In 2024 alone, more than 2.75 lakh Indian tourists visited Turkey, contributing nearly 3,000 crore rupees to its economy. With growing calls to disengage, this flow could now slow down dramatically. With over 3,000 crore rupees in tourism revenue from Indian travelers and $10.4 billion in annual bilateral trade, Turkey has a lot riding on its ties with India. If the boycott Turkey sentiment translates into real action, fewer bookings, falling demand for Turkish products or paused investment decisions, the economic hit could be hard and visible. Back to you.
Thank you so much for that, Shivani. But shifting focus to other geopolitical developments, as US President Donald Trump continues his tour in West Asia, we have Dia joining in with us to get us some updates on the deals that he's signed so far. Dia.
Power deals, political signals and a pause in global trade war. It's been a high-stakes day in international affairs. The US is deepening economic ties in West Asia, eyeing diplomacy with Iran and cooling tensions with China, all in a matter of hours. We begin in Doha, where the numbers are making headlines. The White House announced that President Donald Trump has secured deals totaling more than $243.5 billion with Qatar, laying the groundwork for a bigger $1.2 trillion economic pledge with the tiny Gulf country. The president also said Qatar Airways had placed a record order for 210 planes from Boeing as he signed a raft of deals in Doha alongside Qatar's Emir. The order, Boeing's largest ever for its wide-body jets, deepens ties between the US aerospace giant and the joint carrier. The announcements came on the second leg of Trump's swing through West Asia, a day after the president touted some $600 billion investment by Saudi Arabia in US manufacturing, products and services. Donald Trump also voiced hope on Wednesday that diplomatic efforts would succeed on Iran's nuclear program, even as he vowed rigorous enforcement of sanctions. Trump, on his first visit to West Asia since returning to the White House, said he spoke about Iran with the leader of Qatar, which maintains relations with both longtime adversaries. That's all for today. Now back to you.
Thank you so much for that, Dia. And as the president continues his tour of the Gulf nations, Reliance Industries chairman and managing director Mukesh Ambani went to Qatar to meet with him. Mukesh Ambani also met with the Emir of Qatar, and this is Reliance chairman's second meeting since Trump's return to presidency in January this year. Okay, on that note, we're going to actually take a break and we get you more news and updates on the other side, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Business Lunch on CNBC-TV18. Now, tensions erupt in Gaza as Israeli airstrikes targeted various locations, resulting in significant casualties. Take a look at this report.
Israeli military strikes killed dozens of Palestinians across the Gaza Strip on Wednesday. That's according to local health authorities. It's a significant intensification of the bombardment in Gaza, while US President Donald Trump continued his visit to the Middle East. Medics said most of those dead were killed in Israeli airstrikes targeting houses in Jabalia, an area in northern Gaza. The Israeli military had no immediate comment and said it was trying to verify the reports. Hadi Mokbel, whose relatives were killed in the strikes, said the military fired 2 rockets, killing children, a woman and a baby. Itimad al-Najjar was also in the area when the strikes hit.
We were sleeping peacefully when the oppressors hit them. They hit them and hit the whole region we're in. 14 martyrs inside the house. People are still under the rubble. Have mercy on us. Enough blood, enough martyrs, enough worries. Stop the war on us. Stop the blood.
She added that, quote, nobody is left in Gaza anymore. In strikes the day before, security officials said they believed Hamas military leader Mohammed Sinwar had been killed. That's according to Israeli press reports. Israel's intensified bombardment comes amid Palestinian hopes that Trump's visit to the region will provide pressure for a reduction of violence. And Hamas on Monday released Eden Alexander, the last known living American hostage. Trump's envoys have said they now see a better chance for a new release deal for the remaining hostages. The US has also presented a plan to reopen humanitarian aid deliveries in Gaza using private contractors. Israel has blockaded all supplies going into Gaza since March the 2nd.
More geopolitical news. Russian President Vladimir Putin has decided to skip the peace talks in Turkey, instead sending a junior-level delegation. CNBC's Sylvia Amaro has more updates on this front.
Russian President Vladimir Putin will not attend peace talks in Istanbul today, instead sending a delegation on his behalf. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had said that he will not attend if Putin refused. After the Kremlin's announcement, U.S. President Donald Trump said he will not be joining the talks, just days after hinting that he might. The EU has agreed to a fresh slate of sanctions against Russia, its 17th package since the war against Ukraine began. The agreement targets chemicals used to make weapons, more Shadow Fleet ships, and bans companies from doing business with Russia via third parties, while also targeting individuals with visa bans and asset freezes. The German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has urged the West to be united on Ukraine ahead of peace talks later today. In his first major speech to Parliament since taking office, Merz said he's working hard to ensure the US and Europe do not accept a dictated peace and do not submit to Russia's status quo. He also vowed to make Germany's army the strongest in Europe. This as NATO foreign affairs ministers are set to meet in the Turkish city of Antalya today for an informal gathering. Ukraine's foreign minister has already met with the U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, to, quote, coordinate positions during this critical week.
Thanks so much for that. But with that, we're absolutely out of time on this edition of Business Lunch, leaving the Nifty at 22,892 levels at the day's highest point. Up next, we have Midcap Radar to take you through all the market action.